Hello from Inside Drug Discovery. This video gives a brief description of a drug that was recently approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. That drug is ORLYNVAH. ORLYNVAH was approved on October 25th, 2024. ORLYNVAH is approved for the treatment of certain types of uncomplicated urinary tract infections. We will discuss the indication more in coming slides. ORLYNVAH contains two APIs, two active pharmaceutical ingredients. One is sulopenem etsidroxyl, and the other is probenecid. ORLYNVAH is administered orally twice per day with 500 milligrams of sulopenem etsidroxyl and 500 milligrams of probenecid. So these are hefty pills. The twice-day regimen runs for 5 days. The applicant for ORLYNVAH's NDA is Iterum Therapeutics. The prescribing information insert of ORLYNVAH is cited at the bottom of this slide, and most of the information in this video is pulled from this reference. Okay, let's discuss the indication a bit more. Urinary tract infections, or UTIs. These are bacterial infections that affect the urinary tract, including the bladder, urethra, and kidneys. These bacterial infections are treated with antibiotics. One method of categorizing a UTI is either as an uncomplicated UTI or a complicated UTI. Uncomplicated is the default category. Complicated UTIs have additional factors underlying the infection, such as perhaps the patient is diabetic or the patient has kidney stones. In the case of ORLYNVAH, the drug is approved specifically for uncomplicated UTIs. Furthermore, the UTI should be caused by one of the 3 bacteria listed on the screen. According to an approval conference call from Iterum, a link to which is at the bottom of the slide, these 3 pathogens are involved in over 95% of uncomplicated UTIs. ORLYNVAH is approved for use in adult women, specifically those with limited or no alternative antibiotic options. I believe that the no alternative condition is a reference to a bacterial strain that is resistant to the standard of care antibiotics typically used with uncomplicated UTIs. Sulopenem etsidroxyl, the key API in ORLYNVAH, is actually a prodrug. This acetyl ester side chain in the lower right of the structure is a group that increases the bioavailability of the compound. Once absorbed, the ester is cleaved by unspecified plasma esterases to afford sulopenem, which is the active form of the drug. The active form is a beta-lactam drug, specifically of the penem class. Penems contain a 4-membered ring found in all beta-lactam antibiotics. Penems also include a fused 5-membered ring, which includes the nitrogen of the beta-lactam, a sulfur atom, and a carbon-carbon pi bond within the ring. Like all beta-lactam antibiotics, sulopenem inhibits cell wall synthesis and therefore inhibits bacterial growth. Probenecid, the other API, is not an antibacterial compound. So what is its role in the drug? Probenecid is an inhibitor of both OAT1 and OAT3. These are organic anion transporters, both of which are found in the kidneys and can play a role in excretion of some drugs from the plasma and into the urine. As it turns out, sulopenem is a substrate of OAT3. Let's go back a slide. We can see that sulopenem contains a carboxylic acid. At the pH of the blood, around 7.4, this carboxylic acid will be deprotonated and sulopenem will indeed be an organic anion. Ostensibly, sulopenem is an organic anion that is recognized, bound, and transported by OAT3. Okay, forward again. The inclusion of probenecid in ORLYNVAH is important for inhibiting OAT3, reducing the renal clearance of sulopenem, and extending the half-life of sulopenem. Probenecid helps ensure that a patient receives efficacious exposure to sulopenem through the administered dose. The use of probenecid as an OAT inhibitor is not unique to ORLYNVAH. Other drugs have been co-formulated with probenecid to reduce drug excretion, and the dose of probenecid seems to be 500 milligrams in other cases, the same dose we see in ORLYNVAH. The drug bank link at the bottom of the slide includes other examples if you are interested. Here are some selected pharmacokinetic properties of both sulopenem and probenecid. None of the PK parameters are very remarkable on this slide. I will note that the bioavailability of probenecid is not listed in the prescribing information, but according to the literature, the oral bioavailability is close to 100%. The metabolic fate of sulopenem and probenecid are shown on this slide. According to the prescribing information, sulopenem has two observed metabolites, M1A and M1B. Both are inactive. The structures for these metabolites are not provided or described. In terms of circulating species, the concentration of sulopenem, M1A, and M1B are somewhat balanced in patients. The main metabolite of probenecid involves glucuronidation of the carboxylic acid. With regard to excretion, a radio-labeled dose of sulopenem etsidroxyl indicated about half of the dose was excreted in the feces, with about 27% being unchanged. It's unclear whether the unchanged drug observed in the feces is the original prodrug form or the active form, sulopenem itself. I would guess the prodrug, but I'm not certain. In terms of renal clearance, about 40% of the dose is excreted in the urine, likely almost exclusively as the M1A and M1B metabolites. Probenecid is excreted in the urine. The warnings for ORLYNVAH in the prescribing information include potential allergic reactions, a risk in all beta-lactam antibiotics, diarrhea, common in oral antibiotics which can interfere with the microbiome in the gut, and possible exacerbation of gout. The most commonly observed adverse reactions seen in at least 2% of patients are mostly in line with the described warnings. That is the end of this summary of the approval of the new drug application of ORLYNVAH, which was granted by the U.S. FDA on October 25th of 2024. ORLYNVAH is a co-formulation of the antibiotic prodrug sulopenem etsidroxyl and probenecid, an OAT inhibitor, for the treatment of certain uncomplicated urinary tract infections. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, making a comment, or leaving a question. Take care.